Your healing is going to start when you stop giving people credit for what God allowed. And you on this spiritual journey, so far, people have betrayed you. People have lied on you. People who said they were going to vouch for you, they're not vouching for you. They'd have private conversations with you about how they stand with you and how they support you and how the other person is wrong. But when they give the chance to speak on that in front of other people, they're quiet. During this whole thing, you've probably been in a position where you're saying, what did I ever do to these people? I'm sitting here. I'm not doing nothing. I'm being kind. I'm being compassionate. I'm being understanding. I'm being supportive. I'm being loyal. And people lying on me? And people treating me this way? People betraying me? People disowning me? And when I start really thinking about this, it put me in a position to where I was like, okay, we got to get in on Joseph. Because a lot of us are actually dealing with what Joseph dealt with. And I think the biggest one is the betrayal from your family. If we think about Joseph and everything that he went through, the only thing that truly tugged on his heart was his relationship with his brothers and what his brothers did to him. He got over everything else. Everything else, like when God put him in position and he was like doing everything that he needed to do and he was being obedient and he just rose up in power. Being in prison didn't bother him. Being lied on didn't bother him. But baby, he cried multiple times when it came to his brothers. And a lot of us are not dealing with the true healing that we need to when it comes to our family betraying us. I think far too many times we even want to pray for the other person. We want to pray for their salvation. We want to pray for their healing. We want to pray for them as a person because we're like, oh my God, their heart is not right. But baby, yours is not either. I want you guys to understand that when you get hurt, do you know what happens to your heart? It's shattered. It's broken. And we got to understand too that God's love, agape love, when God gives us something, it's given in love. Our heart does not have the capacity a lot of times to hold the blessings that God is trying to bring into our lives. So it takes your heart to be healed. So yes, in order for God to bring you that relationship, honey, you got to heal what happened over here with your family. You got to heal what happened over here with your friends. Because it takes a healed heart to truly receive what God is doing for you in this season and seasons thereafter. I just remember going through so much with my family in particular. And after my family, it was somebody else's family. And I just couldn't get over like what they had done because I was just in my mind thinking I did nothing to you. I did nothing to you. I was loyal to you. I helped you. I gave you money. I supported you. I did things for you. Even when I didn't want to do things for you, I just couldn't understand it. But after reading Joseph's story, I said, oh my God, I'm giving people way too much credit for what God did for me, what God allowed for me. You didn't do that. I'm not at where I'm at because you hurt me. I'm not at where I'm at because your heart was evil. God, this is the thing about God. People are only doing what God allowed them to do. Yes, when it comes to you on your spiritual journey and people are betraying you and people are breaking up with you for no reason, people cussing you out, people manipulating you, you got narcissistic people giving you hell. God placed those feelings in their heart. Sometimes we be thinking the devil be using people. God be allowing people to treat us that way so that we can be moved and put into position for a lot of the blessings that we are asking for. But it takes a level of healing to truly get there. It takes a level of healing. It also takes a place. Sometimes you don't get there until you in the space where you're out of, your Babylon. You're out of the exile situation. You don't feel those emotions no more. And then you begin to say, God needed me here. There's something for me here. This is bigger than the person that lied on me. This is bigger than my family who betrayed me. This is bigger than the job that fired me. This is bigger than anybody because this is God. This is God's plan. This is God. This is my purpose. This is God's will. This is God operating in the physical. I'm seeing it before my eyes, and sometimes that does not look like what we want it to look like. They don't look like people helping us along the way. They don't look like people helping us when we're down. Sometimes they look like people kicking you while you're down. Sometimes they look like people lying on your name. Sometimes they look like people getting on the phone, gossiping, telling straight lies about you. But I'm going to tell you this, it's all God. And it's all a part of God's plan. And it's building you up to be in a better position. A beautiful example of this is when Joseph was talking to his brothers. Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. He says, but as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. We got to go back to the beginning. If his brothers would have never sold him, if his brothers would have never been jealous, if his brothers would have never had those feelings in their heart for him, he would have never been able to save all those people. God needed him to be shifted. And sometimes God needs us to be shifted. Sometimes God is speaking to us and we can't hear. We have too many distractions. We don't understand. So what God is going to do, God is going to take that hand, baby, that stronghold, and God is about to start moving things. And sometimes when God wants to move you and you are stagnant, God will begin moving people around you. God will say, okay, I need you to lie on him. I need you to break up with him, because I keep telling her to break up with him. I keep telling her to divorce him. She ain't getting it. I need him to find him somebody else. Sometimes, and this is the beautiful thing, y'all, sometimes your spouse cheating is what God allowed so that you could finally leave, because God was already trying to get you. God was already trying to talk to you. God was already trying to connect you, but you wasn't hearing it. So God said, you know what? I know how the enemy is operating in him. I'm going to allow him to cheat. I'm going to allow her to find it. I'm going to allow her to get so mad. I'm going to allow her to cheat and him to find it and him to get so upset that he leaves. And not only does he leave, he's going to leave the city. And that's what I need. A lot of us are meant to be placed in certain places, and some of us still don't understand it. Sometimes you wake up one day and you're like, I feel like God's telling me to move. And you're not moving off of that intuition. You're not moving off of God's soft voice when God was soft with you and God said, okay, I got to come in with the tough love. I got to come in with the tough love. So now you're going to be in a position where they're going to fire you at this job. I'm going to make them fire you. You've probably been at this job for years. You've probably been a wonderful employee. You ain't did nothing. You ain't do absolutely nothing. I'm going to make this job fire you. I'm going to put you in a position where you can't pay your rent and you have no choice but to move, because I've been put it on your heart to move. And a lot of times we be so mad at the job. We be so mad at the spouse. We be so mad at the family. We be so mad at the friends. This is what God allowed. And it took Joseph, as I was reading about Joseph's life, I said, as long as he was in position, everything was fine. When he was in position, and even when he named his sons, he was like, listen, this is God's will. I already see what's happening here. But it took him being in a certain position to finally have that healing. Sometimes it takes us being on the other side to say, wow, I know what God is doing. Now, when we in the midst of it, it's very hard. It's very hard to say, God, I see what you're doing. But I've learned something along the way. When you do absolutely nothing, it's God. When you put yourself in a position where you say, I did nothing to you and you betrayed me. I did nothing to you and you talked about me. I actually helped you. I was so kind that I went above and beyond to help you, and you hurt me. It ain't nobody but God. There's a clear indicator that God is shifting you and moving you, but we got to stop giving people too much credit. And that's when your healing is going to start. When you stop saying they did and they hurt me this way and it hurts. I get it. It definitely hurts. But it takes a level of understanding to truly know that it was only done because God needed you somewhere. God needed you to be positioned to save some people. God needed you to be positioned to be walking in your purpose. But some of us don't want to be positioned because we're caught up on our own will and our own way. So sometimes God will have the others to intervene. God will put it in their heart, which is what's already there. Okay, I'm going to allow this to happen. God allows it. A lot of us are, God, why do you allow this? Because God needs you. God is working with you to get you the very thing you desire. And sometimes we don't listen. Sometimes we don't like it. Sometimes it's too hard and we say, God, I just don't want to do this no more. But still be praying for the thing. And God has to allow certain things to happen. But we got to stop giving people the credit. I'm tired. You know, one day you're going to wake up and say, I'm tired of giving people credit. I'm tired of saying your name. I'm tired of going to God saying you hurt me and you did me wrong and da-da-da-da-da. And one day you just going to realize it wasn't meant for me to be friends with you. And I take the lessons that God intended for me to have in that season to create me or to make me a better person, to build me up in character. And I move on and I let it go. Joseph said there was no way. You meant it for evil, but God meant it for my good. And look at me now. Look at me now. If it wasn't a part of God's will, I promise you, God would not allow it. If God wasn't doing it for you, God would not allow it. It's just a day that you're just going to wake up in your healing and say, that wasn't them. God, that was you. And I thank you for positioning me for my purpose. But I definitely want to encourage you guys to keep healing. Stop giving people credit for what God allowed in your life and continue to heal so that you can reap the benefits and the blessings that comes with walking into your purpose.